Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, leave a comment saying, "Truth always wins." Don't forget to like and subscribe because today's story will remind you that no lie can stand forever, and no betrayal stays hidden forever. The wedding guests sat in complete silence as the bride slowly took off her engagement ring with shaking hands. Tears filled her eyes while everyone stared at the man she loved. Then her own sister stood up with a satisfied smile, believing she had finally destroyed the marriage forever. But just when she thought she had won, one unexpected phone call changed everything. Within minutes, the lies she had spent months building began to collapse in front of everyone. The same people who believed her started turning away one by one. What nobody knew was that karma had already started working long before that wedding day. And by sunset, the sister who wanted to ruin someone else's happiness would lose something far more valuable than she ever imagined. Zinal Masiko was known by everyone in her community as a hardworking, kind, and humble young African woman. She had never expected life to hand her success easily. Every achievement came through patience, long hours of work, and a heart that refused to give up. After many years of standing by each other through difficult times, she finally married the man she truly loved, Thabo Ndlovu. Thabo was honest, respectful, and deeply devoted to her. Together they built a marriage filled with trust, laughter, and small moments that made every day feel special. Whether they were sharing dinner after work or helping each other through life's challenges, they always faced everything as a team. Their love quickly became something people admired. Friends often said they were the perfect example of what a strong marriage should look like. Neighbors smiled whenever they saw them walking hand in hand. Family members proudly spoke about how well they treated each other with kindness and respect. It seemed like nothing could ever break the beautiful life they were building together. But while everyone else celebrated their happiness, one person watched with a heart full of bitterness instead of joy. Zinal's younger sister, Anil Masiko, could not hide the jealousy growing inside her. Every smile between Zinal and Thabo felt like a painful reminder of everything she believed she did not have. Deep inside, Anil had convinced herself that Zinal had always been the favorite child. She believed her sister had received better opportunities, made better friends, and now had the loving husband she secretly wished belonged to her instead. Rather than feeling proud of her sister, Anil allowed envy to take control of her thoughts. She compared every part of her own life to Zinal's until jealousy became impossible to ignore. Each compliment Zinal received made Anil even more frustrated. Instead of asking how she could improve her own life, she quietly blamed her sister for all of her disappointments. Behind polite smiles and fake congratulations, resentment continued to grow stronger every day. No one around them noticed the storm forming inside Anil's heart. To everyone else, she looked like a caring younger sister. But hidden beneath that gentle appearance was a dangerous feeling that refused to disappear. And without anyone realizing it, that jealousy was slowly becoming the first step toward a betrayal that would soon shake the entire family. As the weeks passed, the jealousy inside Anil continued to grow stronger. She could not stop comparing her life to Zinal's. Every time she looked at her sister, she only saw the things she believed had been taken away from her. While Zinal and Thabo's marriage became stronger with each passing day, Anil's own relationships kept falling apart. One boyfriend left because of constant arguments. Another stopped calling after realizing they wanted different things in life. Instead of asking herself what was going wrong, Anil convinced herself that her unhappiness was somehow Zinal's fault. The more she thought this way, the more her heart filled with bitterness. She began believing that if Zinal had not been so successful, her own life would somehow be better. That dangerous belief slowly changed the way she treated her own sister. She smiled during family gatherings and acted supportive whenever people were watching. But inside she wanted everyone to stop admiring Zinal's perfect marriage. Soon, Anil started spreading small lies among relatives. First they sounded harmless. During family conversations, she quietly suggested that maybe Thabo had married Zinal because of her financial stability. She hinted that perhaps love was not the real reason behind their marriage. On another day, she whispered that they argued far more often than anyone knew. She claimed they were only pretending to be happy whenever friends and neighbors were around. Most family members did not completely believe her stories. They had always seen Zinal and Thabo treating each other with love and respect. Still, once people hear a rumor, it becomes difficult to forget. Even those who trusted the couple started wondering, if there could be a small amount of truth hidden inside Anil's words. Quiet conversations began after family dinners, and tiny questions slowly replaced complete trust. Watching those seeds of doubt grow made Anil feel powerful for the first time in months. She realized that simple gossip could make people question even the strongest relationship. But after a while, she became impatient. Rumors alone were not destroying the marriage fast enough. She wanted something bigger, something that would make everyone believe her without asking questions. That was the moment Anil made the most dangerous decision of her life. She looked at herself in the mirror and quietly whispered that if real proof did not exist, she would simply create it herself. Without realizing it, she had crossed a line that would soon change every life in her family forever. Anil knew that simple gossip would never be enough to destroy a marriage built on years of love and trust. If she wanted everyone to believe her lies, she needed something that looked real. Late at night, while everyone else was sleeping, she secretly created several fake social media accounts using different names and stolen profile pictures. She carefully planned every detail so no one would suspect the truth. To anyone receiving the messages, they looked like they came from real people with real stories. One evening, Zinal received a shocking anonymous message from a woman claiming she had been in a secret relationship with Tabo for months. The stranger wrote emotional words, pretending to be heartbroken and begging Zinal to step aside. The message included fake conversations that Anil had carefully edited to look genuine. Zinal stared at her phone in complete disbelief. She wanted to ignore it, but the words stayed in her mind long after she put the phone down. At the very same time, Tabo received messages from another fake account. This time, someone claimed that Zinal was secretly meeting another man behind his back. The account sent edited photographs showing Zinal standing near a man she had met during a public community event. Anil had cropped and changed the pictures so they looked like private meetings instead of ordinary moments. Every image had been manipulated so carefully that even Tabo struggled to notice anything unusual. Neither message was true. Neither photograph showed what it claimed. Every conversation, every picture, and every piece of evidence had been created by Anil with one goal in mind: to break the trust between her sister and her husband. Slowly, the lies began doing exactly what she had hoped. Peaceful evenings turned into uncomfortable silence. Simple conversations became painful arguments. Zinal wondered why Tabo suddenly looked worried whenever she answered her phone. Tabo quietly questioned why Zinal seemed so distant and upset. Neither of them wanted to accuse the other, but the fake messages planted fear inside both of their hearts. Soon sleepless nights became normal. Instead of laughing together, they lay awake wondering if there was something they did not know. For the first time since their wedding, doubt entered a marriage that had once seemed unbreakable. Hidden behind her innocent smile, Anil secretly enjoyed every moment. She watched the growing distance between them with quiet satisfaction, believing her plan was working perfectly. She felt certain that nothing could stop her now. But while she celebrated too early, someone nearby had quietly started noticing her strange behavior, and that silent observation would soon change everything. As more fake messages and edited pictures appeared, the damage spread far beyond Zinal and Tabo's marriage. The lies slowly reached the rest of the family, and before long, everyone seemed to have an opinion. Relatives who once admired the happy couple now whispered behind closed doors. Some believed Tabo was hiding another relationship and had never truly loved Zinal. Others claimed Zinal must be keeping dangerous secrets from her husband. Without knowing the truth, people began choosing sides, and the family that had once celebrated together slowly became divided. Family dinners were no longer filled with laughter. The warm conversations that once brought everyone closer were replaced by long moments of uncomfortable silence. Every time Zinal entered the room, she noticed people suddenly changing the subject or exchanging worried looks. She could feel their eyes following her, and it broke her heart. She had done nothing wrong, yet she felt like she was constantly being judged. The older relatives made the situation even worse. Instead of asking questions or checking whether the rumors were true, they repeated every story they heard. One rumor became two. Two became 10. Before long, people were talking as if the lies were proven facts. Every new conversation made the false story seem more believable, and the truth became harder to see. Even Zinal's own parents, who had always trusted her, started asking painful questions. They did not accuse her directly, but the sadness in their voices hurt more than angry words ever could. They gently asked if there was something she needed to confess, or if there was any truth behind the rumors. Hearing those questions from the people who had known her entire life shattered Zinal's heart. She realized that even the strongest trust could be shaken when lies were repeated often enough. Feeling completely alone, Zinal cried in silence, wondering how everything had changed so quickly. She could not understand why people who had known her honesty for so many years suddenly doubted her character because of anonymous messages and edited pictures. No matter how many times she denied the accusations, it felt like nobody truly listened anymore. Through it all, Anil played her role perfectly. She hugged Zinal when she cried, offered comforting words, and pretended to stand by her side. She acted like the loving younger sister everyone admired, hiding the terrible truth behind a gentle smile. No one suspected that the same person wiping away Zinal's tears was secretly creating every reason for them. The deepest wound did not come from strangers. It came from someone Zinal loved and trusted like family, making the betrayal even more painful than anyone could imagine. Months passed, and the endless lies slowly pushed Zinal and Tabo to the edge of losing everything they had built together. The fake messages never seemed to stop. Just when they tried to rebuild their trust, another anonymous account would appear with another shocking accusation. The constant fear, confusion, and unanswered questions became too heavy for both of them. Their once happy home was now filled with silence, sadness, and painful misunderstandings. Every day felt harder than the one before. Then one evening, everything reached its breaking point. Tabo received one final anonymous message. This one was more detailed than all the others. It claimed that Zinal had been secretly meeting another man for months and hiding the relationship from everyone. The message even included more edited pictures and fake conversations that looked frighteningly real. After reading everything, Tabo sat quietly, unable to think clearly. His heart wanted to trust his wife, but his mind was exhausted after months of manipulation. For the first time, he began wondering if the impossible could somehow be true. Without saying much, Tabo packed a small bag and walked out of the house. He told Zinal he needed time alone to think. As the front door closed behind him, Zinal felt as if her entire world had fallen apart. She stood there in complete silence, unable to believe that the man who had promised to stay by her side forever was leaving because of lies she did not even understand. The days that followed were the hardest of her life. Every night, Zinal cried herself to sleep, praying that somehow the truth would come out before it was too late. She kept asking herself the same painful question. How had a marriage filled with love, trust, and happiness changed so quickly? She searched her memories again and again, trying to understand where everything had gone wrong, but she found no answers. Soon the word divorce was spoken for the very first time. Hearing it felt like a knife cutting through her heart. The woman who had dreamed of growing old beside her husband now feared losing the future they had planned together. She wondered if their beautiful love story was coming to an end because of lies created by someone they had trusted. Watching everything fall apart, Anil secretly celebrated. She believed she had finally won. In her mind, nothing could stop the marriage from ending now. She smiled when no one was looking, convinced that her plan had worked perfectly. But while Anil enjoyed her imagined victory, karma had already begun moving quietly behind the scenes. Without her knowledge, someone unexpected had started gathering every message, every fake account, and every hidden clue. The truth was getting closer with every passing day, and soon the person behind every lie would have nowhere left to hide. While Zinal and Tabo struggled to save what was left of their marriage, someone else quietly began noticing details that everyone had ignored. Tabo's co-worker, Saifo Kumalo, was a young technology expert known for solving difficult digital problems. Over the past few months, he had watched his friend change from a cheerful husband into a quiet and worried man. Tabo rarely smiled anymore, and the stress was becoming impossible to hide. Saifo knew something was terribly wrong, and one day Tabo finally showed him the anonymous messages that had turned his life upside down. As Saifo carefully read through the messages, something immediately caught his attention. Although the accounts had different names and profile pictures, there were small technical details that looked strangely familiar. His curiosity grew stronger. Instead of making quick conclusions, he decided to investigate quietly. He wanted facts, not guesses. Over the next several days, Saifo carefully examined every fake account, every message, and every edited photograph. The deeper he looked, the more surprising the truth became. Hidden behind the fake names were digital clues that could not easily be erased. The anonymous accounts had been created using the same internet connection. The edited pictures carried traces showing they had been changed on the same device. Even the timing of the messages followed a clear pattern. Piece by piece, the puzzle slowly came together. With every new discovery, the evidence pointed in the same direction. Every fake account, every edited picture, every anonymous message, they were all connected to one person. Saifo could hardly believe what he was seeing. The betrayal had not come from a stranger or an outsider. It had come from someone inside the family. Even after discovering the truth, Saifo refused to rush. He understood that simply accusing someone would only create more arguments. Without undeniable proof, many relatives might refuse to believe him. Anil had spent months pretending to be the caring younger sister, and people trusted her. Saifo knew that if he wanted to clear Zinal and Tabo's names, he needed evidence so strong that no one could deny it. So he continued collecting every digital record, every login history, every editing trace, and every connection between the fake accounts. He carefully organized everything, waiting patiently for the perfect moment to reveal the truth. At the same time, Anil happily prepared for the family's upcoming anniversary celebration. She bought a beautiful outfit, practiced smiling in front of the mirror, and looked forward to another gathering where she believed everyone would continue blaming Zinal and Tabo. She walked into each day feeling confident that her secret was completely safe. What Anil did not know was that the evidence against her was already complete. The trap she had built for others was about to close around her, and the family celebration she eagerly awaited would soon become the day her biggest secret was exposed before everyone she had deceived. The day of the family anniversary celebration finally arrived, and everyone gathered with heavy hearts. Although the house was beautifully decorated and the tables were filled with delicious food, the joyful atmosphere from previous years was missing. Most relatives expected the gathering to end the same way every recent family event had ended, with another painful argument between Zinal and Tabo. People quietly whispered among themselves, wondering if this would be the day their marriage finally fell apart in front of everyone. Zinal arrived looking emotionally exhausted, while Tabo remained quiet and distant. Neither of them wanted another public argument, but the tension between them could be felt by everyone in the room. Anil walked around with a calm smile, pretending to care about both of them. She hugged Zinal warmly, spoke kindly to Tabo, and acted like she wanted nothing more than peace in the family. Inside, however, she believed she had already won. Just as everyone prepared to begin the celebration, Saifo Kumalo politely stood up and asked if he could have everyone's attention for a few minutes. His calm voice surprised the room. Curious faces turned toward him as he connected his laptop to the television. Nobody knew what he was about to show, including Anil. The screen lit up, and the first document appeared. Saifo calmly explained that he had spent weeks investigating the anonymous messages that had nearly destroyed Zinal and Tabo's marriage. Then he began showing the evidence one piece at a time. First came the dates of every fake account that had been created. Then the anonymous messages appeared on the screen, followed by the locations from which they had been sent. Next came the editing history of the manipulated photographs, showing exactly when and where they had been changed. Finally, he displayed the internet records connecting every fake account to the same source. With each new piece of evidence, the room grew quieter. No one interrupted. No one whispered. Family members stared at the television in complete shock as the truth slowly unfolded before their eyes. The rumors they had believed for months were collapsing one by one. Then Saifo opened one final document. He looked around the room before quietly revealing the identity of the person behind every fake account, every edited picture, and every anonymous message. Anil Masiko. For a moment nobody moved. The silence was almost unbearable. Relatives looked from the television to Anil, unable to believe what they were seeing. The same sister who had cried beside Zinal, comforted her through every painful moment, and pretended to support the family had secretly planned the entire betrayal from the very beginning. Their parents stood frozen in disbelief. Tears filled their eyes as they realized the heartbreaking truth. The daughter they had trusted had been destroying her own sister's marriage while pretending to protect it. In that single moment, every lie finally collapsed, and the truth stood where no one could deny it anymore. After the family gathering, the truth spread much faster than anyone expected. The evidence Saifo had presented was impossible to deny. Every fake message, every edited picture, and every anonymous account had been traced back to Anil. Within days, the story reached relatives, close friends, and people who had once believed every lie she told. The image she had worked so hard to protect began falling apart before her eyes. For months she had controlled the story with deception, but now the truth was telling its own story, and no one could stop it. One by one, the people closest to Anil started pulling away from her. Friends who had always stood beside her no longer knew what to believe. If she could lie to her own sister with such careful planning, they wondered what lies she might have told them. Phone calls became less frequent. Messages stopped coming. Invitations disappeared. The trust she had broken was not easy to repair. The biggest shock came when her fiancé learned everything. At first, he refused to believe the accusations, but after seeing the evidence with his own eyes, he realized the painful truth. He looked at Anil and quietly admitted that he could never build a future with someone who could deceive the people she claimed to love the most. With tears in his eyes, he ended their engagement and walked away. Watching him leave made Anil realize that lies often destroy the person who creates them before anyone else. Her problems did not end there. News of her dishonesty eventually reached her workplace. Co-workers who had trusted her started questioning her actions, and management opened an investigation after hearing complaints about her honesty. The future she had carefully planned suddenly became uncertain. Everywhere she turned, people questioned her words instead of believing them. Even her own relatives refused to accept anything she said anymore. Whenever Anil tried to explain herself, people remembered the months of deception she had created. For the first time in many years, she felt completely alone. The loneliness she had forced Zinal to experience had finally found its way back to her own life. While Anil faced the painful consequences of her choices, Zinal and Tabo quietly started rebuilding what had almost been lost forever. Their hearts were still wounded, and healing did not happen overnight. There were many difficult conversations, many tears, and many moments of silence. But this time, those moments were filled with honesty instead of suspicion. They slowly learned to trust each other again, choosing truth over fear every single day. Everyone who witnessed their journey understood an important lesson. Karma does not always arrive through revenge or anger. Sometimes it comes through the simple power of truth. When the truth finally stands in the light, every carefully built lie begins to fall on its own. Several months passed after the truth came out, and Anil's life looked nothing like it had before. The people she once depended on had moved away from her, not because they hated her, but because they no longer trusted her. The house that had once been filled with phone calls and visitors now felt painfully quiet. Every morning, she woke up with the weight of her own choices on her heart. For the first time in years, she had no one else to blame. There were no rumors to spread, no lies to hide behind, and no one left to fool. She was finally alone with her own thoughts. As the weeks turned into months, something inside Anil slowly began to change. Without jealousy controlling her mind every day, she started seeing the truth she had refused to face for so long. Zinal had never stolen her happiness. Her sister had never caused her failed relationships or her disappointments. The real problem had been living inside her own heart all along. Her biggest enemy was not Zinal. It was the insecurity that had convinced her she could only feel successful if someone else failed. That painful realization brought many sleepless nights. Anil remembered every fake message she had written, every edited picture she had created, and every cruel moment she secretly smiled while watching her sister cry. The memories filled her with shame. She could no longer recognize the person she had become. She finally understood that jealousy had not only hurt Zinal and Tabo, it had also destroyed her own future. One quiet afternoon, Anil gathered the courage to visit Zinal. Her hands trembled as she stood outside the front door. She almost turned around several times, afraid that her sister would refuse to see her. But after taking a deep breath, she knocked. When Zinal opened the door, neither sister spoke for a few moments. Tears immediately filled Anil's eyes. She had not come to defend herself or explain away her actions. She had not come to blame her childhood, her failures, or anyone else. She came for only one reason: to tell the truth at last. With a shaking voice, Anil admitted everything. She confessed to creating every fake account, sending every anonymous message, editing every photograph, and spreading every rumor. She admitted that she had celebrated while watching her own sister suffer. Every word was painful to say, but she refused to hide behind excuses anymore. Zinal stood quietly, listening without interrupting. She looked into her sister's tear-filled eyes, hearing a confession she had waited months to hear. The silence between them felt heavier than any argument they had ever had. As Anil finished speaking, both sisters stood there with tears running down their faces, and no one knew what would happen next. The question remained in everyone's heart. After such deep betrayal, could forgiveness still be possible? For several long moments, Zinal said nothing. She looked at her younger sister with tears in her eyes, remembering every sleepless night, every painful rumor, and every moment when she felt completely alone. The wounds were still fresh, and the betrayal had changed her life forever. Anil lowered her head, believing she had already lost the only chance to make things right. She expected anger. She expected rejection. She believed she deserved both. Then Zinal quietly took a deep breath and spoke words that Anil never imagined she would hear. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to let your hatred live inside my heart forever. The words filled the room with emotion. Anil broke down in tears, unable to control her emotions anymore. She knew forgiveness would never erase the pain she had caused, but it gave her a chance to become a better person. For the first time in many years, the sisters cried together instead of against each other. It was not the end of their pain, but it was the beginning of healing. The family also understood that trust could not return in a single day. Broken relationships need time, patience, and honest actions to grow strong again. Little by little, family members stopped talking about old rumors and started creating new memories together. They learned that listening to gossip without knowing the truth could destroy the people they loved the most. From that day forward, they promised to seek the truth before believing accusations. As the months passed, Zinal and Tabo slowly rebuilt the love that had almost been stolen from them. They spent time talking honestly, supporting each other, and leaving fear behind. Their marriage became even stronger because it had survived the hardest storm of their lives. To celebrate their fresh beginning, they renewed their wedding vows in a small private ceremony surrounded only by the people who had truly stood beside them through every challenge. This time, every smile, every promise, and every happy tear came from genuine love and complete trust. Anil chose a different path as well. She stopped trying to repair her reputation with excuses or empty promises. Instead, she worked quietly, showing kindness through her actions every single day. It took years for people to trust her again, but she accepted that trust must be earned, not demanded. She finally understood that jealousy had never hurt Zinal first. It had slowly destroyed her own peace, her own relationships, and her own future. In the end, everyone learned a lesson they would never forget. Sometimes the greatest revenge is not revenge at all. It is choosing happiness while the truth reveals every lie by itself. No matter how carefully betrayal is planned or how deeply deception is hidden, karma always finds the right door, and the truth always arrives when the time is right.